guys, it's Will.
I'm Mike. Hello.
This is 80s Nerdgasm's Best Movies of 1981. So the way that we created this was we all put lists of our favorite movies of 1981 on our Instagram account. If you're not following us on Instagram, make sure you go over there right away.
Please.
It's a really big community. We got like 45,000 followers, so it's pretty awesome. And so basically, we put our list up, and then we solicited lists from other people. Like in the comment section, let us know what are your favorite movies in 1981. And then we created a huge spreadsheet with all those movies on it, and we created a point system, and we added up all the points, and then basically we just ranked it. Whichever movie has the highest point total is number one, and then number two, and then so on down the line. So we have a tie, actually, and we should also say that if we have a tie, right, so we have a tie here at number 10, we didn't do, oh, that's 10, and then the next one is 9. We just kind of skipped 9, right? Yep. It's because we wanted to have only 10 movies on the list, a very pure list, top 10 movies of 1981. So with the tie at number 10 is Thief and Scanners. So Thief is a Michael Mann film, and it stars James Caan, and it's really well known for having really, really strong, influential, like, 1980s style and ambiance, and also it's about a thief, right? So it's like got a very strong kind of like genre plot, but also the way that it is made was hugely influential, and I think a lot of people point to that as being one of the great things about this film. And then you actually had Scanners on your list.
I did have Scanners on my list. I think I had it 4 or 5.
Yeah,
kind of down there. I always get confused with Lynch and Cronenberg.
That's Cronenberg.
Yeah. Scanners. It's less weird than a lot of his other films.
Like Videodrome?
Yeah, like Videodrome and stuff.
Or Shivers, remember that one? That movie's weird.
That was weird. So Scanners is really interesting. It's like about, it has characters who can like have like mind powers, and like it's that famous scene where like the guy's sitting there and it's like, and his head blows up. Right? Yeah. So it's a really fun movie. I think I had it number 5 for me. Good job, everybody. Good voting.
Well, this one's from your list too. You want to do that at number 8?
I had Das Boot. I think I had it
your
as
bonus.
An honor. I had it as a bonus because like it's a really good film. It's not like one of my favorite films that I love watching, but I felt bad because it's so well made. It's so well regarded that
and people were livid with you. They were like, "That's the best movie ever."
I know,
you can't put
and
that
I was like, "Man, I should have just left it off so no one got mad." But I felt bad, so I was like, "I put it there."
But it's like 3 hours long, or 3.5 hours. And is it Wolfgang Petersen, or am I wrong? Was that like one of his early movies? Remember. And it's like a German movie about a submarine in World War II, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. So
there you go. So number 7 is a curious selection.
I don't get this one.
Heavy metal. If people like boobs
and animated weird shit,
sci-fi stuff, and like, well, as you'll see as we get higher up the list.
Funny little story. You know, we're big fans of Andy Sidaris, right?
Yeah.
So Julie Strain does the voice in Heavy Metal.
Does she really?
Yeah.
How old was she?
This one was Heavy Metal, like 87, 88,
This is
89?
Best Movies of 1981.
Oh, 81?
What is he talking about? It's literally on the thing!
Maybe I just invented that, but I thought she was in that, but maybe she's
in
something
I
else.
think that there have been multiple iterations of Heavy Metal, right? Because there was a magazine or a comic book.
I might be talking about a different one, yeah. I may be talking about the one later on. My bad. Don't crucify me.
Heavy Metal was a one where it was nowhere on any list early on, because we do multiple posts, right? So it didn't appear on any of the early lists, and then all of a sudden it showed up, and people started kind of jumping on it, like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember that movie, yeah.
So at number 6, we have an obvious choice to me, An American Werewolf in London.
And I would say it seems low, but when you see the movies above it, I guess it makes sense, because
81 has some big movies.
Yeah, 81 was a tough year. American Werewolf in London.
And this is a movie that like a lot of people really love, and it's like definitely a cult classic, and it also just got released on Blu-ray by Arrow, and it's like this really extensive Blu-ray release, and a lot of people have been like jumping on that, putting that on Instagram, so I think it's like on people's minds, and like, you know, so we talk about how hard of a year 81 was. I think there's like 50 or 60 movies on this list, and like Friday the 13th Part 2, like there's some big...
And there's like Chariots of Fire, and actually like good movies,
like
too.
Time Bandits, Clash of the Titans, and these are all movies that got some decent votes. And then Jim actually had... Jim, why don't you tell us about Mommy Dearest, and how that was number 2 on your list?
Because it's fucking awesome.
Yes.
It's fucking awesome.
More one-liners than any other movie.
Not enough awesome, though. And then obviously the transformation American Werewolf in London is still
famous.
Still good.
Yeah.
So number 5, why don't you talk about that? Because I don't even know if I've seen it.
Number 5 is Excalibur. So this movie had like 1 or 2 votes, and then Logan put it at either number 1 or 2 or something. Yeah. And all of these people came out of the woodworks are like, yes, Excalibur!
Stupid Logan, look what he did.
So did John Boorman direct that? Am I wrong about that? And didn't he direct
I don't
Deliverance?
think I've seen it.
Am I wrong? It's like a really violent, like sword and sorcery, like medieval knights going around hacking people to pieces, like Rain, Mud, like
Sounds
one of
cool,
those types of movies. Yeah,
but-
we should watch it for one of our
But
movie
the
nights.
5.
Well, look at all the first place votes.
That's a lot of
But
first
look,
place
but then
votes.
go across. It has only one non-first place vote.
So either you
it's
love
these-
it or you don't know
It's
about
these
it.
people who are big fans saw Logan's post and they're like, "Yes, Excalibur,"
So number 4, we have Evil Dead.
which
Really
makes
cool.
total sense.
Makes sense.
Classic horror movie.
Lots
Lots of number 1 votes too.
Yeah, lots of number 1 votes, and actually some pretty good legs with it too. So like everyone's heard of it, everyone loves it. It might have been helped a lot with the series coming out recently, so it kind of
Ash vs Evil Dead.
kind of like brought that back into people's
But
minds.
people, I mean, on the 80s nerdgasm community in general really likes that character that
Ash?
Bruce Campbell
Yeah,
plays.
Ash is
Yeah,
awesome.
because whenever we post we posted the boomstick clip recently from Army of Darkness.
From the third one,
People
yeah.
went ham, and the thing is, the way that you can tell on Instagram that people really really like stuff is the comments, right?
Yeah.
Because the Army of Darkness clip did well in terms of views, but the comments went ham.
They
People were
just
just
went
like, "Oh, I love this movie. This is like the best scene
They couldn't
ever."
stop. They could not comment on it.
Yeah,
And Evil
exactly.
Dead's fun. It's a really good example of how to make a film cheap back in the day, and a good way to get your career going.
So number 3 was my number 1. Was it also your number 1?
It was my number 1.
And
yeah.
I was as I was
I'm
counting
a little
up the
disappointed
votes,
in the
because
audience
it got
in
a
this.
fair number of first place votes. And as I was tallying the votes, I was really hoping it would pull like a come from behind victory. It is The Road Warrior, Mad Max 2.
Should
It's
be
just
high.
such an awesome movie. It's so good.
It's number 3.
Oh, I said number 2? Yeah, it's
did.
number 3.
Number 3.
As you know, if you watch this series, I'm very bad at counting in lists.
So bad.
I just get out of place. I don't know what's going on.
I think I've seen The Road Warrior several times before, and I showed the movie to Will 6 months ago, 8
Yeah.
months ago, something like that, and it's really, really good. Like if you've seen the new
Fury
Mad
Road,
Max Fury
yeah.
Road, The Road Warrior is probably the closest to that of the
they're
3
very similar,
original,
yeah.
because it is. Half of the film is a big chase scene with a bunch of cars and a bunch of all this stuff going on. The Road Warrior is just really fun. There's like the humongous guy, the bad guy. I
Yeah.
think his name's Humongous, and
Yeah.
he's like wearing this like fetish.
Bondage
it's just,
costume.
and then you have his like number 2 has
Vernon
a little
Wells is in
has
it,
a
yeah.
little twink.
Yeah.
And the little twink.
No, but have you said so? He has said recently in interviews, like, "Oh no, we weren't lovers. He was just my friend."
And
It's
I'm
like,
like,
you
no.
have him on a chain.
It was a
Don't
twink.
lie.
And so our friend Danny like resembles that guy really, like 100%. Like I feel like it's one of those photos where you like, did this guy time travel? But the film itself is so good, and I'm so sad that it's number 3.
Yeah. So
Why don't you
actually,
talk about this one?
this is really interesting because, so like with Empire Strikes Back, right? When you're doing 1980 and you know that movie came out in 1980, you're like, okay, fine, this is gonna win. I just give up,
Yep.
right? This is the movie I thought would just blow everything away here, and it didn't. And it is Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? So this is a classic movie for people. And this is one of those movies where, like, for me, I loved that movie as a kid, right?
It's an easy one to pick.
And when I watch it as an adult, I'm like, that's a really fun movie. But I'm not thinking this is the greatest film ever made. But there are people who really honestly swear this is like the best movie ever. It's the best action movie. It's the best adventure movie. It's the best like blockbuster. It's Spielberg's best movie.
And it has the most first place votes on our list.
And I mean, like, obviously, if you're into film history too, like, you know, that movie is like heavily influenced by like a lot of westerns and stuff, and there's like references to John Ford and like that famous stagecoach chase from that old movie. And then you have the fact that Indiana Jones is basically James Bond, right? There's like this famous story where George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were like, what can we do that would be same as James Bond? And then they came up with the character of Indiana Jones. And it's like this guy who goes on adventures and has signature weapons and all this stuff. And so it's like a really classic, fun movie that was hugely influential. I think very nostalgic for people. And I really thought that that would get number 1. It lost by 1 vote.
That's
and the
as close
reason,
as you can get.
But this is what's really interesting. The reason it lost is that the first place movie has a ton of third place votes. Like, it has decent first place votes.
And then a ton of
But the
place.
third place votes are huge.
And they pushed it over.
Do you wanna-
So yeah, I'll jump in. Number 1 is Escape from New York, and I love Escape from New York, but I'm honestly surprised it's
I'm
even in the
surprised
top
too,
3.
yeah.
Honestly, I would.
I think
like,
I had it at number 2 or 3
I think I had
on
it
my
at number
list.
2
Yeah.
or 3 on my list as well, but I wouldn't think it'd be that high in an aggregate list like this. But like Will said, it did pretty well. I think it has the third most first place votes, but
Yeah.
it just kills everybody in the third place votes,
It
and
just
all
went
those
ham,
points
yeah.
add up. Escape from New York's awesome. It has Kurt Russell in it. Donald Pleasance. It's set in
Isaac Hayes is in it too,
Isaac
isn't he? With
Hayes
the
in it.
Pimpmobile?
He has the Pimpmobile. He has like a Lincoln Town Car with chandeliers as lights, and basically and Lee Van Cleef is in it. Whoever they like, and they sent Snake Plissken into New York, or
It's
it was
Manhattan.
Manhattan,
It's
right?
Manhattan
And
has
it's
become like a
isolated.
giant
It's
prison,
like an
yeah.
island. It's a giant prison. He has to get the president who crashed in there,
Yeah.
and it's like it's just fun.
It's just an
It's
awesome,
an
and
movie.
we recently ranked, and we'll put a link in the description of this video. We recently ranked John Carpenter movies from the '80s, and that was number 2 for me. Was it number 3 for you?
I think it was number 3 for me.
But we love that movie. Awesome movie.
3 or 4 for me. Yeah.
And so let us know in the comments what your top films from 1981 are. If you missed out on the original list that we posted.
Are you surprised?
And yeah, how surprised are you, honestly, that Escape from New York ended up triumphing over Raiders of the Lost Ark, Road Warrior, Evil Dead, like all these movies?
Who knows?
Obviously, our fan base errs towards horror, action, like that kind of stuff. Although in later years we do get some, like
some other stuff.
I think E.T. is on one of the lists. We'll see when we get to that year. So we will be back with our list for 1982.
I'll see you then.
A list for 1980 has already been put out, so go look for that if you haven't seen it and you enjoyed this. My name is Will.
And I'm Mike.
And we will see you next time.